Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of JKL Media, where we continue our time traveling journeys of the TV series 12 Monkeys from Terry Matalas. And we're looking at season 2, episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right? Okay. And those episodes are Primary, 100 Years, Emergence, and Bodies of Water. And I'll just let you guys, Karen, I'll start with you. I'll just get your overall impressions of these 4 episodes.
Sorry, I was muted.
Yep.
These were, I feel like, much more supernatural feeling than all the other episodes. There was a lot of esoteric kind of, I'm connected to the time stream kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. I like a little bit of supernatural stuff in my genre shows. And I thought that the progression of some of the characters was great in these, and the fact that we're seeing changes happen in the time stream and how they illustrated that was really cool. So these were 4 really good episodes, and again, makes me want to continue watching. So it's going to be nice to watch the next 4 episodes.
Right. Okay, Jesse.
Yeah, in fact, I was telling Lou before we hit record, I ended up watching these 4 twice because I was a little bit confused, wanted to make sure I could talk about them. I think the middle 2, set in 1944, were the highlights for me. Those are my favorite 2 episodes. Yet, I also think one of the storylines in Bodies of Water was absolutely kick butt. And this has been we talked a couple episodes ago about, with different World of Warcraft, Dungeons and Dragons, right? These different alliances, these different personalities and things. And they are, we are playing with that a lot. My girl Cassie is become a badass, and her heart has become so hardened. And Cole, on the other hand, has been going through a transformation of being kinder. And I love the part that he said, I saved someone's life, which delayed the virus.
Right.
Killing someone has never stopped the virus. So maybe we're doing this the wrong way. Just made for a really interesting thing. And I love that someone called him out. Is there a shortage of razors there, guy?
Agreed.
I just love that. I said, I hope, I feel like that someone has gone back in time. Someone has listened to this episode, gone back in time and rewrote the script so that they're like, hey, this is for you, Jesse.
Vindication.
Yeah. I wonder if they were hearing rumblings on the feedback from the fans about it or something.
Yeah.
Wrote it in as a joke, so that was good. Yeah, so that was as soon as I heard that line, I said, "Oh, Jesse's going to love this," and Karen too. So that was good. It's a very interesting group of episodes, and the continuing changing of the character. Is it their core beliefs, or maybe their more peripheral beliefs, because of their shifting backgrounds due to the alterations in timelines is very interesting to watch. It's a pretty cool deconstruction and reconstruction of characters as they shift around. I got a kick out of the relationship between Cassie and Deacon. I thought that was and how Cole just couldn't stand them being chummy. I thought that was funny. And Cole, and it was funny because we were just talking, we previously just recorded our B5 thing, and I was podcast, and I was mentioning that Sheridan made a speech that I thought could have been more impactful. And I thought that Cole had that one great speech around the table when they were all talking about what their next steps were to be to get the timeline, to resolve the timeline issues. I thought he gave a pretty good speech. Everybody sort of stepped back because Cassie and Ramsey and Deacon were all going at each other pretty hard, and he just stepped in and he sort of got them back on the proper road. So yeah, there's just this constant evolving kaleidoscope of relationships between the characters, and Katerina also has an interesting dynamic with the shifting timeline, that she has a mate that she doesn't remember because of that, and it's played by the actor who was Colonel Ty in the Babylon or the BSG remake, and he's a great character actor. He's got that very dry, sarcastic kind of delivery, and I think he's a great addition to the show. There's also some really funny moments. Like there's that one technician, with the glasses, and he's a bit chubby.
Yeah.
he got killed off. I thought, I guess they wrote him out of the show, and then he's back.
Yeah, and he's like, I like this timeline better.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
I love that.
So there's all these little Easter eggs, and from my rewatch, I agree with Jesse. I think the 1944 episodes were strong because I have hazy recollections of them from when I was previously watching the show the first time.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons that it stood out too was the actor that played the police detective, the main guy. For his performance was pretty strong, and I thought he did a great job as well. So we're kind of jumping around all over the place. But from the character side, we'll just sort of run through the main ones again. And Jesse, I'll kick it off with you. And let's start with Cole. What are you thinking about him during these 4 episodes?
He has, I have really enjoyed his arc.
Mm-hmm.
This has gone from someone who, very much a bootstrap paradox, right? That the reason he's the hero is because he was always the hero. Right. He is who they mentioned and who they've done. And him going through the different thoughts and, how much he cares about Cassie, he cares of Jose and Jennifer, right? He cares about all of them.
Yeah.
And he has gone from the very first episode where I just got to kill this guy that's going to put me out of this, the world, and that's okay with me, to have them disappointed, right? When he convinces Jennifer not to follow her destiny, right? And and then he's like, why am I still here when they burn? I was a little worried when they burned the virus, like, is this just going to escape? But I guess the heat was enough to make it inert. But I love his journey where he's trying to be a better person, and he's trying to do the right thing. And they've switched. Cassie is now all about the mission.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet, whatever cliche you want. The end justifies the means. But he's like, if we lose our soul while we're trying to do this, what's that going to cost us? And that flipping so early in the series, because this is only the second season, I think makes for a very interesting dynamics. I don't like it that Cole and, Dr. Rayleigh, Cassie were kind of at odds with each other, but it made for a great episode. So yeah. And I love the fact that, Aaron Stafford, who plays James Cole, just was liking this time period, right? Like he likes 1944, right?
Yeah.
It's, he discovered whiskey sours. He is able to, live in the hotel. Everyone thinks he's a big shot because he has all this money. And it just is like, okay, maybe I should just stay here for a while. So I just love his journey.
Right.
I also really appreciated that when the FBI guy, nearer to the end, he starts talking about how he was trying to figure out what was weird with Cole, that he really highlights the fact that Cole was not really flying under the radar.
Right.
You know, he gives that necklace to the woman, and the FBI guy investigates it, and you know, he sees lots of little inconsistencies. And I really like that. That actor he is really good in a lot of things. And I've watched it a million times. That's why I remember him from this, but from the Earth to the Moon, he was in that as well, in a very similar role. He was an investigator. But you might know him from let's see, The Shield. He was in most of The Shield. I did not watch that series through the whole inception of it, but that was where he was well known, if you recognize him from something. But I liked his character in this. You're supposed to hate him, and then he flip-flops into, hey, he might be an ally, which is cool. I loved the opening scene of the first episode that we watched, Primary, where we get that continuation on the bridge. And the culmination of that scene, and how it really highlights how Cassie has changed. And the fact that she and Cole have completely flip-flopped, really, it showcases how easily someone can change based on their surroundings. Nature, not nurture, is that the whole argument with that. And that she lives in the future for even just a few months, and she is transformed into this other person. I do think that her base beliefs have stayed the same. It's just how she goes about following through that is different.
Yeah, she switched from the means to justifying the ends versus the ends justifying the means.
Correct.
Yeah.
And like Jesse said earlier, her alignment, her D&D alignment has changed, but she's always in that good, highlight, lawful good. She's dances around that lawful good thing. And I might just be saying that because I didn't want to be completely wrong. That she was never going to change from that.
Yeah.
But I really do think that in her mind, she is sticking by those principles. And I think Cole is sticking by his principles as well. He's just realized that changing the future is something that he had in his mind one way, and it's not that way.
Right.
Like you mentioned, that saving someone has caused the time to flip a little bit, and instead of killing people. And I think that was just a realization that his impact could be done in a different way, which,
right.
It's very cool to see that kind of character development so quickly, yet it doesn't seem rushed.
Yeah.
The real quick, Jay Carnes, the one we were talking about, I did watch all of The Shield, and he was Dutch was kind of the villain against all the other, he was the straight arrow in the detective series, and they all made mocking of him, even though he actually was the good guy. He also plays a really good, he's the Secretary of Defense in a series that did not last very long called Last Resort. It was only one season, but it's a really nice series that if you have a chance to watch, I recommend it strongly.
Is that the one with Chidi?
It is the one with Andre Brower plays the captain of a nuclear submarine.
Okay.
And they decide to
go rogue.
Yeah, go rogue because once again a military coup is happening. Sean Ryan helped create it along with similar to The Shield. It's only 13 episodes. It did not find an audience, and they ended up wrapping up very well. So it's a nice little 13 episode, and it has another well-known Hallmark channel actress I'm trying to think of Reese's last name. She
Witherspoon?
yeah, no. Yeah, she is she's done tons of stuff. She's done a lot of done a lot of oh, where she is. Anyway, I'll find her in a minute. She's done a lot of different genre stuff. I don't see her on IMDb, but yeah, it's a fun little series.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really liked seeing him, and I liked how, because he read a lot of H.G. Wells, he's like, okay, I'm not going to just, I know it doesn't make any sense there's time travel, but the facts are what the facts are, and I'm going to move on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Jesse Schramm? Because she's on quite a bit of like the
Yeah.
Nashville Christmas Carol, Country at Heart. But she was also in Lucifer, and she was Cinderella in Once Upon a Time.
Autumn Reeser.
Oh, Autumn Reeser.
Autumn Reeser, who's been in tons of science fiction stuff.
A lot of good people in that. I mean,
yeah.
Dyke and Lockman is also in it.
Exactly. So. Yeah. So yeah, she's really, I like her a lot in that scene. She plays really well. Cool. So yeah.
All right, cool. So and since we're name dropping here, I just wanted to give the name of the actor that I was talking about, Colonel Tice, Michael Hogan. And he plays Vance Eklund in this series so far. And he's a great addition because for Katerina now, she has a sounding board to talk to. Generally, most of the other scientists are really just plot conveyors or story point conveyors. So it's good that now she's got somebody to bounce emotionally off of. And it's great because he doesn't take any of her guff. He gives it right back to her, and she basically says as much. She says, "Did my other me allow you to let you talk to me like this?"
Well, and I love he said
that.
Right, one of my joys was breaking down your barriers,
yeah.
And I'm looking forward to doing it again.
So great addition to the show. I don't know how long he's on. I hope he's on for the rest of the series, but we'll see. And with the shifting timelines, who knows? Half these people could be gone again. So,
and I love the idea, right? That I thought that was a nice twist, that because they've had the magic, juice in their body, they remember the other timeline.
Yes.
And I do think that when she's at the table with all
that
the
is
other
a great
scientists,
point.
All the other scientists believe her. Yeah. Right. That's like because of what, because you would think they'd go, wait a minute, you're crazy. They're like, okay, that makes sense. So,
well, I think it's because they get time travel.
Right.
Yeah.
But, another show you would have had to spend at least 1 or 2 episodes trying to convince them you're not crazy because you remember the other timeline.
Right. And then one thing happens.
Yeah. And they're like, okay. Yeah.
And they believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and that's just a function of the show. The show is not dwelling on those types of issues. That's not what it's interested in. It's interested in the progressing this multiple timeline mythology. So that's why they're not getting bogged down in those things. But I do think you made an excellent point about the fact that these characters remember the other timelines, because without it, that we don't get the satisfaction of seeing their characters grow. Because if they just reset and they don't remember what they did before, kind of like Doctor Who, but we won't go there, then the satisfaction of not having that arc to continue is very, very important. And I'm glad that the show has handled that. Though with Katerina, it's a little shaky that how she can remember, because she's not really time traveling and she's not taking the serum, as far as I know. Maybe she is under the in her private hours, who knows? But we'll see how that plays out. Interestingly enough, I think until the last episode of the 4 that we watched, Bodies of Water, Cassie hasn't really changed too much. There was a little bit at the end of Emergence when she had that drink with Ramsey at the bar where he's telling her to cut Cole some slack, that she's starting to rethink her position or soften up again a bit. But I really did like how her relationship evolved with Jennifer in the 4th episode that we watched, Bodies of Water. And this was a good group of episodes for Jennifer because she's been crazy all this time, and we just thought, or we were led to believe that it's just, that she's just like, you know, garden variety crazy, if that without being insensitive, but you know what I mean. But what's really going on with her is she's what's called a primary, and she's trying to deal with reconciling all these different timelines that she's remembering as well, because she's kind of like a focal point for time. So I think that the mythology of the show is advanced in a very interesting way, and a very organic character-based way, because Jennifer's been like this the whole series, but now we're getting a better explanation as to why she is the way that she is. And I really like that. And it also made this backstory that she shared with Cassie about what her mother did to her when she was a child, trying to drown her in the bathtub. I thought that was pretty powerful stuff. Though I had to laugh every time she saw that image of that person. I thought it was her at first, but I guess it was her mother. But it also was very Ring-like, if you know that horror series. So, Jesse, what did you think about what happened to Cassie in this?
So I had never heard Joan Jett's version of the Mary Tyler Moore theme song.
Oh yes, I
And
want to
All
commend her
around.
for that. Yeah,
I want to go. I want to go buy that and throw it on my in my iTunes playlist. I loved that version,
that was a
and that
great ad.
yeah, that montage was perfect, right?
Yeah.
That I take my meds, I keep a routine, and that scene where she goes and says, "I'm ready for the voices to stop."
Yeah.
And Cole saying, find your purpose. Your purpose hasn't to be like her purpose, because of the what do we call the mystery lady? I forgot what she's called.
The
Elegant.
striking woman.
Yeah, the
Striking
striking woman, right?
Yep.
Just has been brainwashing her that this is your purpose. This is your purpose. And it's interesting, right, that some people realize that they are primed, though they don't call it that, right? Like the guy in the 40s knew he was something special. And so he understood the voices were there for a purpose. She didn't, because of the way her mother, who was mentally ill as well, she was the monster and she tried to kill her. And then her dad, locked her up. And I love that scene. Turns out if you aren't locked away and you get your regular meds, you can be okay. I think a very telling moment was Cassie going, well, this is not good. You're normal. We got to figure out how to get your visions again, so maybe we can get you off your meds, which is so unhealthy, right? Once again, that's, the end justifying the means. I love that Jennifer remains a little crazy. Like when Cole's talking to her, you need to come to our area, move in together. This is so sudden, right? Just this,
so great.
Just such a lovely little line. And it's interesting that she's still alive in 2044, and she's gotten her daughters. She seems to have found, as she said, her purpose, and also found a pretty good life. So I've loved how we're going to see, I'm sure we're going to see younger Jennifer again, and the older Jennifer. I love that she's in both timelines being the same person. And I assume for some reason, once again, for the effects of the show, the time changes don't change her memories. It doesn't look like it, right?
She's a primary.
Yeah.
Right.
So therefore they can see all the different things.
I'm assuming she gets a muddled version of a lot of different timelines as a primary.
And we talked about this last time. It's very Bill and Ted, but I love the fact, okay, go put an ad in the newspaper and then we will see it and then we'll know what to do. I appreciate the fact that, and this is convenience of writing, when we want to be very specific in time travel, we can be.
Yep.
But when we need it to be vague, we need it to be vague. We're going to give some timey-wimey, goopy-gobby reason why we're having to do that way. But I'm happy that they do that because it serves the story well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I can't complain too much about the writing so far. I mean, I still think the Jennifer or the Cassie turn happened a bit quickly between the end of last season and this season, and I'm still hoping that they're going to do some flashback to that 8-month period that she was. Though we've seen hints of it now, but it still seems a little abrupt. But
yeah, and her and Deacon being bonding is a little odd because Deacon's the bad guy, or is he? Right, and that's once again the
he is
beauty.
For now.
Yeah, kind of.
But that last episode, I thought that was such a great turn. I know we're going to get to it in a minute, but that was so well done.
Yeah.
Okay, so that Joan Jett song, the cover of the Mary Tyler Moore song, just in case people want to pick it up, it's all over streaming sites, but it's also on her greatest hits album.
Oh, is it?
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
It was a perfect song.
Man.
It was, like it's taking something that we're all familiar with and repurposing it.
Yeah.
For
and
Jennifer,
even,
it was hilarious.
she's kind of mimicking some of the things that happen in that Mary Tyler Moore
walking down the street
right, with the umbrella and the hat and all that. So good. And I love that we got like a happy montage from her that seemed so discordant from this show, completely different, but it also kind of gave us that baseline of if she takes her meds, she's normal. So the primaries, I'm assuming, could all be normal if they took their meds, but they're of much more value if they don't take their meds, which is such a contradiction to what we know in real life, that people are much more valuable. And I hate saying it that way, but you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So we can talk maybe to a lesser degree about Ramsey and Deacon sort of at the same time, because I think those two characters have pretty well stayed the same. Ramsey is special talent is calling people out on their BS, and he really does a good job on Katerina a couple of times. I really enjoy those scenes where she's arguing about she's doing all this stuff for this, for the greater good, and he's to say, bullshit, you're just doing this for your daughter, and I'm just doing this for my son. So don't give me all this nonsense of all this other stuff that you're doing. So I thought that was really good. I'm still trying to puzzle out, Karen, in my head, why Deacon, when he came back after being dropped off and supposedly killed, why he was so happy, so friendly towards Cole and Ramsey. But I kind of think there was a bit of a hint in there where he says, you finally learned your lesson, and now you've done what I would have done, kind of thing. So maybe now feels like they're on equal footing. I don't know. I'm kind of reaching on that.
Maybe
scene.
Some grudging respect, and also the fact that they facilitated him getting out from under the thumb of this dude, that he ended up killing those guys who were after him, and hey, thanks for that. I do think we're definitely going to see more about what happened in that scene, because I don't think it's what it looks like to us, at least so far, because that was the last part of the last episode we watched.
Yep.
Is, it's right there. So we don't know what happens after he drops that bomb on them, that, hey, I really taught you well, kind of thing.
And his brother, he mentioned the reference about his one knife being his brother's. So
the knife.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same brother that Ramsey watched. He watched them in the yard. He said the oldest one was, crying and all that. And he's talking about him. And he kind of mentions a little brother. that he saw him and his brother and the father beating
Oh,
up on
yes.
his mother
Yep.
in the past.
Yeah.
So we get a couple little references to the fact that he has a brother and about why he is the way he is. I thought that was really cool that we're getting to see more of his backstory. I do want to know if he's taking the medicine.
He took some pills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
I
mean,
did see him. Yeah.
okay.
Taking a
I mean,
pill.
is Cassie getting him medicine every time she goes back? Although, that wasn't a big deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we're talking about Ramsey too, can I just say how cool it was? We got a couple different storylines in this that we saw from two different perspectives.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very
I
Back to the
love
Future Part
that.
2-ish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we got to see Ramsey, what happened to him when he goes to 1944. And they also line it up and say, here's what was happening with Cole
And Cassie.
in 1944
Yeah.
at the time that he was hit by the car, that Ramsey was hit by the car. They kind of give us that, here's what Ramsey was doing, and that touchstone of, it was in this part of the story.
Yeah. Because my expectation watching that episode was that he was going to change the timeline.
Right.
But he didn't, which
and
was
it
really
ended
cool.
up that, he was the phone call with
Yep.
the static.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really dug that we got to see that, and that they don't interact until the scene that we saw, until that last scene.
Mm-hmm.
It picks up and they've, melded the two perspectives for us. We don't see any overlap there.
Yeah.
And also we kind of got to see what is she, a messenger or whatever?
Yeah.
We got to see some of that from her.
And that she's the mother of the pale
right?
man.
Of the pale man. Right.
Yeah.
And that the striking woman
was the sister.
Jennifer's mother.
Oh, was it Jennifer's?
She's Jennifer's mother. Olivia.
Oh.
Is she? How is she so young?
Did you not see that in her face when she was?
No, I didn't catch that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
now I need to go read the
right. And I think something is happening to her because she's drinking that time juice or whatever.
Okay.
Was I wrong? I thought that the pale man said that, inferred that Olivia was her sister. Did I? I'll have to watch that again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, that could still be the case.
Sorry, listeners. We should have had our shit together.
No, that's okay. I mean, she could be his sister and also Jennifer's mother. So that would make the pale man Jennifer's uncle.
Olivia.
Very weird.
Okay.
So we got to see a lot with her too.
I really liked how Deacon kind of mad respect, guys. This is, he said,
Pallid man.
This is how I would have done it. You guys have finally learned well, because he said that earlier. I would have respected you more if you had tried to kill me when you left in the middle of the night. And then him, they're talking to Katerina like, this is what we had to do, and she isn't happy. And all of a sudden, Deacon shows up covered in blood, and just, won't be a problem anymore.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then just, next time you go, bring back some whiskey so we can have that drink. Kind of, and the way he said, I assume my men don't know this happened. I won't tell if you won't tell. The same way that, the daughter of the monkeys, right, tells the scientist, I won't tell if you won't tell, right, because he's going to have an affair.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, if you're an old middle-aged guy, it's never good if a hot woman tries to seduce you. Okay, just go. This is not.
That's a trope.
That is a trope, right?
You're gonna end up in a bathtub with your kidney missing.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
I saw that on Twitter. Someone said, "Well, what would you do if a beautiful woman sat down at your table and started talking to you?" I said, I assume I'm about to get robbed. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done some quick looking up here. So Olivia is the sister of the Pale Man,
Okay.
and their mother is the Mantis, who was that woman that went back, one
The
of the
messenger.
messengers
Okay.
that went back in time. So, but it doesn't say that she's the mother of Jennifer. So,
Well, it was her face in the ring, girl.
well, maybe Jennifer's mind is mixing up things
Could
there,
be.
but
Yeah.
they don't list her as being the mother of Jennifer.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I think one of the things that I've enjoyed about this show so much is the characters were changing back and forth, right?
Yep.
That no one is staying static. And we have already talked about how much the people that were in Picard season 3 that are in this, we've really admired their acting. We talked a little bit, right? Jose is just wonderful, right? He plays that. Is it Go? I think the game
Yeah. With his
that
son.
he's playing with his son. He's like, "Oh, you're good," and they really are treating him poorly. And then when he comes back afterwards, they're kind of, well, you've done everything you wanted to do. Maybe we should let it go. And one of the things we haven't talked about, right, is Cole's loyalty, right? That we have seen that consistent, no matter how much he changes, his loyalty matters. And, Cassie going, "You've forgotten the mission," and him going, "There's more than just the mission," makes this really, really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing that is really that I'm really enjoying is the expansion of the mythology of the show, and they've cleverly shifted the focus away from the plague now to this, the primaries and preserving the timeline or preventing time from crashing in on itself. We get a bit more of the Red Forest. We understand that reference now. And the new thing that we're getting is this farmhouse, or whatever it is. It looks like it's that one house that the Pale Man in them and Olivia were in as well, but it might be slightly different. I can't remember, but they've got a really cool device of these messages being written on the wallpaper. And the other thing that ties into that is that diagram that Jennifer saw in the house with all the timelines and Cole being at the center. She saw her death date. So there's a lot of things of cool things going on there. And I'm going to shoot the theory out here now, and Jesse, I'll get your reaction to this. I think the witness is Cole. Based on what we're seeing so far. And I think those messages are being written by him. So I might be wrong about that, but we'll have to see. So your thoughts on that and any other mythology things that you'd like to discuss?
So I do think it's interesting, the brother and the sister, right? Only like both of them wanting to go to that farmhouse, and it is a great special effects of that. Everything kind of almost like you're in a strobe light and the wallpaper changing and with the messages, and like sometimes like when I think it was right, let's kill Cole, and it's like no, which feeds your theory that maybe it's him. We do think we absolutely know that he is more to this because everyone keeps telling him you just don't understand. Yeah, you don't understand yet how important you are. So I think that's a pretty good theory. Sometimes you ask a rhetorical question. So I'm going to ask a rhetorical question. Is it good when you're getting your instructions from a sapient house, right? Through wallpaper? I just don't think so. This is it just does not seem good.
Yeah. Yeah. Karen?
Yeah, I got to agree with that. I love how they're so trusting of Jennifer. They don't mind talking in front of her because there are a couple things they say, and she takes a note, like a date
Yeah.
of something.
Yeah.
And I think that's telegraphing that she's going to use that for something, especially her death date. I also like that it's two ways. They give her information inadvertently, but then she gives information because they know who the other primaries are, and the only way they could have known that is from learning from Jennifer, who sees it in that book, who they need to go and talk to. And I think her character is just so complex, and that she can be a pivot point for a lot of different stories, a lot of different tacks that the show takes. And it's just really interesting to see her get information, catalog it, and leave it as like a lamppost hanging thing, but also underplay it, which is very cool.
Yeah. It's also interesting that she mentioned that the 2044 version of her ability to sift out things is not as good as when she's younger. So that's interesting as well. The other message that I caught on the farm wall that I thought was interesting is we lived here from 1957 to 1959. So I'm wondering who the we are, and that will be interesting to see. And how long will it take for us to see that? Because usually they drop hints and it doesn't take too long for it to show up in the show. So I'm looking forward to that.
This is one of the things that you can't say about this show. They are stingy on storylines.
Right.
I mean, they
answer questions.
They answer questions very quickly. And like, in a way, we've already stopped the virus. We just delayed it. We didn't stop it all the way, but they talked about, look, you did some good. There's now broadband radio playing music. Yeah. Right. There are outposts that weren't hurt as bad. Not as many people have died. Right. And so, you go back to, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? How do you stop the, disaster one viral outbreak at a time? I just have loved this.
Yeah. And we also got a glimpse of Aaron.
Yeah.
Burnt Aaron.
Yeah. So, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do like she called him on that. Like we had said, we hated that how callous she was, that she had done that. And then she's saying, you didn't mind Aaron dying. He was trying to save me. So you could see that still bothered her. Right. And, Cole said too, it seemed to bother him. He said, this isn't what I wanted.
Yeah, for sure. Just in general, how do are you finding that this series is providing Amanda with more to chew on?
Yes, I absolutely do think that this is as an actress, I'm sure she just loved this because it's a very complex role. She is not always likable. And, and often people say it's fun to play the villains, right? Well, she's not a full-fledged villain, but she is someone that is not all, sunshine and rainbows. She is definitely not the damsel in distress. And I agree with you. I would love to see a flashback to that 8 months to see how she went, what went through and what happened to get her so tough. But she's a little badass now.
Yeah, she's doing headshots. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think she likes that character is so nuanced.
Yeah.
All righty. So I think that's all the major points I had. Is there anything that hasn't come up that you guys wanted to mention? Jesse, you watched it twice. You must have something that you're
Well, no, I just I love the I love that that wonderful scene when the the sister is telling Jennifer, I'm just going to be your mother, right? You've always wanted a mother.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you know what about, and then stabs her anyway.
Yeah.
And leaves her on that. That's a great scene. It looked like a empty swimming pool, maybe, right?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
and then her brother comes. It's even like, oh, I get to. I mean, there is no love lost between them.
Yeah. Oh, that just jogs my memory with another thing. That those scenes, 1944 of the party. That's a town hall from Back to the Future, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I
Yeah.
got the same
I thought for
impression
sure when I saw that's the town
that
hall
town was right.
or town square
It
from
sure
Back
looks
to yeah,
like
Universal a lot.
the same clock.
Yeah.
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 And I did love the, when our FBI guy, right, was giving Cole a hard time, like, hey,
Mhm.
can't you, is there a razor? There's a barbershop everywhere.
Yeah.
And then Cassie comes, yeah, he was at the Patan Death March. And like,
Mhm.
it's like, and Cole's like, what? And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, kid,
I also
Yeah.
love that she says, yeah, he was shot in the privates.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
as they walk away, he's like, did you have to say I was shot in the private?
Yeah.
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 That seems to be a bit of a running theme because I think Ramsey had a remark about
One
wrapping
of
a
my
cable.
remaining.
He only
No,
has
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. One of
like
my
who
remaining.
admits
Yeah.
that?
I also, what was really, really, and it's not a major storyline, but it was this could be reoccurring, right? Is Jennifer keeps naming this prime number. We got to have a prime number.
Yeah.
And the hotel's like, you're in the wrong room.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden they take them to this suite
Yeah.
that, James Cole in 44 bought in perpetuity, right? He
Yep.
owns this.
Yep.
And, and every after Easter, I'd come in and do spring cleaning, and I've kept everything the same. And you have this where you now know that there is a point in time in this is New York, I assume, right? That
Mhm.
where they can go and you will know where that is geographically. You will know where that is and you could find them. And I just thought that was nice that she was, she kept going there for the bartender. He's there. We had the different scenes where, Cassie is in modern clothes and they're like, oh, we have a dress code here. And he's like, oh, that's my wife. So I like this hotel setting.
Yeah.
And I hope they go back there again. That's a cool. That's
Yeah.
a cool
That hotel
Lynch.
concierge that she was talking to that was remarking on her clothes and that was he in Sex and the City or something like that? He looks awfully familiar, but
I'm not sure.
I have seen him before, but
Yeah.
There's a lot of great touches for sure, and I like the fact that the FBI agent is the guy that signs the picture of Cassie
Yes.
and Cole in the back and dates it for them. And I had to laugh at how Cassie was kind of trying to rag on Cole that we got to do this, we got to do that. He says, it's looked after, it's looked after. He says, I got to get some clothes. He says, I looked after that too. And I thought, boy, that's one thing a woman does not like is when a guy buys clothes for her.
Yep.
Mhm.
Although I trust my husband with that.
That's good. Yeah. So, I'm very happy with the show. It's got the right balance of pathos, humor, ideas. The storyline's progressing. They're answering questions. We've got this thing now with the primaries. The next episode, which is Immortal, is we know that they're going to go to New York in the 1970s to try to protect this primary, who's a Vietnam soldier, I believe, Vietnam vet. So that'll be interesting to see, and then it'll be interesting to see where the show goes from there, because Jennifer said that they're down to if only one more primary is killed in the timeline, or time will collapse on itself. So that it'll be interesting to see how that plays out or how they twist that. And if I had any predictions to make about where the characters are going to go, I have to see a point at some point in the series where Deacon and Cole and Ramsey are going to become buddies, or maybe Cole and Deacon will be buddies and Ramsey will be out on the outside, or Ramsey and Cole will be buddy, or Deacon will be buddies and Cole's on the outside. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what they're going to do with that.
I think the three of them will be frenemies, right?
Yeah.
That, I think that there is, and I really do think Deacon respected them
Yeah.
right? That doing
Yeah,
this,
it
like,
seemed
it's
like it.
Yeah.
like this, like, okay, now I can treat you as an equal, right?
Yeah.
Now that you tried to kill me, okay, maybe I can respect you equal. And I do think the three of them together when they're driving is always fun, back and
Yeah.
forth,
Yeah.
the banter back and forth. Talk about a fun road trip movie, right?
Yeah. I'm sure they must
Yeah,
have had a blast in the car, just sort of riffing or ad-libbing
yeah,
stuff too.
exactly. Yeah,
I'd like to hope so. At least it was very
yeah,
cool.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, this is a great binge series, and I'm really enjoying it. We got our next 4 episodes that we'll watch are Immortal, Meltdown, Lullaby, and Hyena. So looking forward to that. And then that works out nicely that it'll give us 3 episodes left in season 2, and then we can watch the first episode of season 3 with another batch of 4 episodes. So that worked out well. So
good.
that's cool. So that's everything I got for this installment of the 12 Monkeys. Is you guys are all good too?
Yep.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think so. Yeah, I think we did it. Yeah,
All right. Very good.
yeah.
All right. So Karen, if people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
I am at Aliveria on the various social medias, and my blog is aliesstuff.com. And the landing page has a bunch of other links to other podcasts and other blogs and things like that. So
Very cool.
have a look-see.
Jesse.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. You can hear me talking Bruce Springsteen on Set Listing Bruce. And be sure and check us out on our weekly episode on the same feed where we're talking Babylon 5. Please go to iTunes, rate and review us. It just does make a big difference on people finding the show. And, we'd love some feedback. We get a fair amount of email on Babylon 5, but we haven't gotten any feedback yet on 12 Monkeys. So if you watched the series and want to let us know, jklb5podcast@gmail.com, and let us know what you're thinking.
Very good. And you can find me on YouTube at Lose Reviews, where you'll find this podcast under the JKL Media playlist, where we've also done short series like Devs, Midnight Mass,
The English.
The English.
Yeah.
That's the one I was stumbling over. Thank you.
And
You're
they got
welcome.
no Emmy love. I was really surprised. I really
agreed.
thought that she would. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too
At
bad.
least for like set design or costume design would have
Yeah.
been good.
Yeah, or writing even. I thought this was well written.
Agreed.
Too, so. Yep. But there's just so much content out there. It's really hard to get notice.
Yeah.
But and what else I got? Oh, the Writers Podcast, and where I do writers interviews, as well as the Stephen King podcast, which has been neglected, and we'll have to get back to it. But I think that wraps it all up. So we're all going to splinter off back into our own lives, and you listeners will do the same thing with your lives after listening to this. And until next time, take care and so long. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good.
And see.